ont investi toutes les fonctions du pouvoir, la plupart du temps sous forme dictatoriale, directe ou en contournant le principe démocratique. La démocratie est un mot usé et un mensonge par le jeu des parts. Les partis où, sans majorité suffisante, des ajustements contre nature s'opèrent et empêchent toute expression démocratique réelle. Ainsi, dans ce contexte, l'agressivité de ces États-nations est décuplée pour donner le change face à une impossibilité de régler les problèmes internes insolubles et où l'expression libre est sujette à censure. À tel point qu'on a entendu en France que la censure est une protection de la liberté d'expression en interdisant ce qui est considéré comme fake news. Je vais m'arrêter là. Et c'est lui qui va faire tout le reste.
Elements of reflection on the contemporary world. Will you be surprised if I tell you that we are currently experiencing a third world war? This is a geopolitical, geostrategic and economic war. I won't talk about Ukraine or Gaza. What's the point? The spirals of violence are on the way. Nation states have invested all functions of power, most of the time in direct dictatorial form or by circumventing democratic principles. Democracy is a born word and a lie by the games of parties where, without a suffering majority, unnatural adjustments take place and prevent any real democratic expressions. Thus, in this context, the aggressiveness of these nation states is increased tenfold as if to deceive in the face of an impossibility of resolving insoluble internal problems and where free expression is subject to censorship. So much so that we have heard in France that censorship is a protection of freedom of expression by prohibiting what is considered fake news. The power of British Empire over India have made Gandhi say in 1932, which is quoted from the book Gandhi Democracy, Real and Deceptive. Real freedom will come not by the acquisition of authority by a few, but by the acquisition of the capacity of all to resist authority when abused. In other words, freedom is to be attained by educating the people to a sense of their capacity to regulate and control authorities. The state represents violence in a concentrated and organized form. The individual has a soul, but as the state is a soulless machine, it can never be driven from violence to which it owes its very existence. Hence, I prefer the doctrine of trusteeship. On the other hand, the very structure of society has been turned upside down in less than 2 generations by what is commonly called economic development. The violence of states on their citizens to satisfy a good place on the international scene have become essential and priority is manifested by the progressive destruction of the basic structure of the society. Centuries old workshops have given way to competitive industries, small family farms to agro-industries and over-exploitation of animals. Thus, knowledge and transmission of knowledge inherited from past centuries were lost and have already disappeared. We have therefore cut the branch on which the entire society was sitting, and we will see what the consequences will be with the 3 texts to come. So, to begin with, here is the voice of first people, the governors. I would like to bring here the reflection of Adolf Nobel Prize 1980 on the subject of development. So he spoke to me about the indigenous people of South America, to whom he asked how they understood development. They gave him an object lesson. Here are interviews. For us, the word development does not exist. So, what word to understand each other? He continues to say, with us there is the word balance. Balance with the cosmos, with the environment, with Mother Earth, balance with other, with oneself, with God, and it is the balance which is life. And when this balance is broke, then violence and its consequences begin. So there are balances which are discussed, and the second test which is discussed is the temptation of Christ in the desert. Still with some same ideas, I allow myself to travel to the 18th century and quote this Russian philosopher Vladimir Soloviev, who cautions the temptation of the Christ in the desert in the Gospels. Everyone knows these three temptations, but for those who do not know them, here is the text. Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. After fasting for 40 days and 40 nights, he became hungry. The tempter came and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, command that these stones become loaves." Jesus answered, "It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God." The devil then took him to the holy city, placed him on the top of the temple, and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, He will command His angels concerning you, and they will carry you in their hands, lest your foot strikes a stone." Jesus said to him, "It is also written, Thou shalt not provoke the Lord thy God." Consequence of having it all, greed, the hoarding of good, and the misery that results from it, both for the thirst for greed and for its direct and indirect victims. Consequences of being everything, the immediate and fleeting stardoms which locks you in the dungeons of illusion about yourself. The futility of this attitude is disconcerting. Fortunately, they all die and reach their limits, as Jesus sends him to the devil. So these are discussed. The third text which is discussed is Gita. This is a comment by Vinoba Bhave, a successor of Gandhi, reported by Satish Kumar in his book "You Are, Therefore I Am." In the chapter Earth, Soul and Society, Kumar quoting Vinoba distinguishes three elements: yajna, ritual sacrifice, self-sacrifice; dana, duty of charity, recognition of others; and tapas, austerity and sobriety. Yajna consists of repairing the harm that men have caused to the earth by returning all or part of what he has taken from it, and acts about symbolic but cultural. The farmer, for example, returns compost and nutrients to Mother Earth. The carpenter will plant tree elements therefore of return and respect after having taken something. Dana consists of being aware of the fact that at our birth everyone is nourished and raised by human society, and that it is a question of giving something back by honoring and respecting our elders because they transmitted art to us, culture, the experience of life. Finally, we must nourish ourselves through practice such as meditations, steady fasting, rest, sleep, and contact with nature. This is tapas. This is what we can find in the scriptures or among ancient people available to men. Scriptures that bear witness to the reflections of the living on their past experience, inherited and always updated. There are many others. As these things currently taught in our education system? Above all, we teach how to take, use, consume, and demand rights. Now the next section is state violence and resistance. The legitimized violence of established state is the major problem of our current society, and the constitution of international institutions, UN, APEC, COP, without any democratic or elected proceeds, further increases questions about decision, from which people are definitely excluded. And what are the pillars of authoritative society? Banks normally are the services of particular initiatives, but confiscated and dominated by state banks or international institutions such as IMF. The stock exchange, where speculations and gambling reigns supreme for the sole benefit of powerful, as legal corruption. The tax on labor and trade to finance politicians and civil servants who maintain general operation in place, and simply paid instruments of operation. The multiplications of non-elected international institutions whose decisions are planetary and not subject to the people supranational. Business and IT schools and their thousands of little sharks scattered all over the world with their little salesmen suitcase who more than with weapons have subjugated people with illusion of development. Finally, the will not to see the apathy or the acceptance of the vanished of the system of the billions. It seems from the right, from the left, from the deep center, and from the depth of extinct soul, with wokeism as a cultural arrogance and groundwork. While waiting for the cosmos to come, because it comes inexorably, let's be positive. What are the means to hope for the renewal of dispersed people? The answer is through non-cooperation, civil disobedience, the spirit of sovereignty that no power can prohibit, the multiplication of networks for the exchange of everyday consumers goods at the village or neighborhood level, artistic creativity, education in kindness and attention to others, unconditional love for others, a guarantee of truth and a beautiful life, and finally, the personal transformation and contagion that is generated. Finally, the conclusion is I would like to quote Lazadev also, who brings these conferences, said that Gandhi, if he had been asked to create a new constitution for India, would have declared that how would he would choose to state in Matthew 5 as his constitution. So here is what the Gandhian beatitudes would be, according to what I know of Gandhi. Work your interior garden consistently, free yourself from all violence, and break the law if necessary. Sowing the seeds of a sharing economy, give up trying to be right but understand the other's position, give free range to the imagination and its duration by surpassing the puzzles of reality, welcome the poor and the migrants with conviction because it is an opportunity for you and them, respect life and the cosmos because your own life depends on this balance. Thank you.
Friends, this formal inaugural session will come to an end by the concluding remarks and the expression of thanks